Alrighty, guys, welcome to the Rambling Man Podcast, episode 10, I think. Can't remember. I'm losing track of time here. I'm here with my friend Alex Faith, a good friend of mine. He came to my gym one day, and I trained him for a bit. We became friends, and we've kept in contact. He has an interesting story himself, and I'll let him introduce himself a little bit here.
10 episodes. I didn't even know. That's crazy. But yeah, I was a rapper for like 10 years, and I was incredibly overweight the entire time I was doing it. This is the thing about rap music and being an overweight rapper. It's like, doesn't stop you from doing anything. There's a lot of fat rappers out there, and they're doing all right. So, and then I was doing Christian music, so it wasn't, I didn't have to deal with like image issues as much as somebody in the mainstream, would have to deal with, I think. And then I met some dudes 4 or 5 years ago, and they came to a show, and they pretty much was like, "Bro, you're really overweight, and like your show would be better if you were in a little bit better shape." And it wasn't like don't be fat. It was like, but at least like run and drink water, do something, like to be able to have enough wind to get through a verse. And that was the thing. It was kind of like, you're good at this music thing, but you can't even finish a song like in person. And this is actually one of my really good friends, Mason, said that stuff to me kind of over a course of, like, he didn't meet me and say that stuff, but like over the period of our relationship, he was like, you need to get your life together, bro. Around 2016, I moved to Texas. I moved back to Texas from Atlanta. I met you guys. I started working out with y'all for about a year and a half, or about a year. That was like 2017, I think, if I remember right. And then I worked out with Mason and a few guys, and I did a bunch of different training styles. Eventually lost like 150, 65 pounds, something like that. Got very deflated, and now I'm kind of like on the way back up, trying to become fast and strong and athletic versus just not fat. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the thing for a lot of people who are in that, like, oh shoot, I'm 350 pounds, I'm 300, I was 365, 68 or something like that.
And how much do you weigh now?
Right now, I'm 235 point something. I just did a body scan over there. So, my lowest weight was last summer when I was managing the gym. I got down to 215. That felt awesome. That's where I want to be back at. But I want to be 215 with a lot more size, so that I don't have as much just empty space, melted ice cream. So, but yeah, so I've just been training for a few years, and it's been cool. But right now, one of the things I've been talking to you about is like trying to get better at CrossFit, trying to get better at like trail running, trying to get better at more things that require athleticism and skill versus just lifting weights and being on point with a macro diet. You'll lose weight if you don't eat like an idiot. Mm-hmm. And for me, now I want my diet to be more performance oriented versus like being in a calorie deficit for 3 years, which sucked.
Yeah. Before we get too much into the fitness, I just have a couple questions with your original background.
Go back to the music stuff.
Just because it's interesting to me. Do you feel like being in the Christian realm that people, and this is just something personally that I feel like that people are not as genuine as they should be?
People are, in the Christian music industry, people do not, I think, well, I can't say that. I don't want to broad brush anybody, but I've experienced individuals, including myself, who don't feel like they have the ability to fully be themselves for fear of losing their platform. And for me, when I fully started being myself and saying stuff and having an opinion that wasn't necessarily like super neutral. A lot of Christian artists, specifically, the Christians are not very neutral politically or, whatever. But when it comes to like entertainment, like Christian entertainers try and maintain this like neutrality that with everything, it doesn't matter if it's drinking or cussing or politics or do you go to the bar? You know, I mean, even down to like some people are like caffeine is wrong, and so you got people who are like, man, I love coffee and I can't talk about it. And you got guys who are like, man, I love beer and I can't talk about it, or I like this music and I can't talk about it. Those are small examples, but at the end of the day, it's like this neutrality thing, or this like desire to just be accepted by everyone takes over. And you know, I think there is a lot of like disingenuous like folks, like, but there's also a lot of people who are just stuck and they're like, I wish I could be myself, genuinely.
Yeah.
I just can't because I won't be able to pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
Or and that's not necessarily just specifically Christian rap. Prior to doing music, I was Lecrae's tour manager for 2 years, and that was like, you want to see behind the curtain, like, you know, you're meeting Michael W. Smith and like Amy Grant and, you know, freaking CeCe Winans, like Christian music royalty. And I'm sure all these people are really good people. Like, I don't have super great experiences with a lot of like Christian music industry folks, but I also don't have like a ton of bad ones. Mm-hmm. I think mainstream and Christian, like, I've had equally negative experiences on both sides, but I think the Christian side of the industry is definitely like, we can't be ourselves, otherwise nobody will let us do youth group shows.
Yeah, they just like uphold this like idea, you know. I just say that because, you know, a lot of people will hear that you were a Christian rapper in the Christian genre, and they'll think, you know, automatically a lot of people think, oh yeah, he hates gay people, or
oh no,
you know, and because I know you,
right.
And I know a lot of Christians myself, you know, my dad's a pastor, and you know, the fact that I think people still think like that is the most ridiculous thing in the world.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, dude.
It's so crazy, and like I think that, like you say, there's a lot of people that are scared to really voice like how they really feel, mm-hmm. And it's just like in politics in general, the loudest voices are the ones that are heard the most.
Yep.
So it's the people saying the craziest shit that's literally making it out to everybody. So it's like, you know, I think that, you know, I think that if Christian artists just were honest and like, you know, there's nothing wrong with cussing. Like, everybody cusses.
I think it's happening.
For sure.
It's starting to shift. I'm seeing a lot of guys get pissed, and a lot of it isn't necessarily even the cussing. Like, that was one of my hills, because I'm like, bro, look, my grandmother, my mom, like, this is how I talk. This is how I talk. This is how I talk to everyone. This is how I talk to, you know, my pastor. And so it's just one of those things where I'm like, bro, I'm not finna change that to continue appeasing this youth group fan base that has a thousand other flaws in terms of like the way that I believe. I'm not gonna go there, but this one, I just feel like churches have tons of issues that they could be working on. And they like to major in the minors, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. How that kind of goes. And it's like, well, don't drink and don't smoke and don't chew tobacco and don't go to the club. And I'm like, so that's like the full wholeness of godliness. I get that those things, like abstaining from those things, could be part of your devotion to God. Fine. It's not mine. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like God requires that from people to consider them devout.
Yeah.
And so that's the rub that I have. And the big issue is, bro, like, where do you make money in the Christian music industry? Churches. Like, who's in churches? Parents. What do they have? Kids. They want their kids to not listen to this music, so they give them this, you know, automatic Christian alternative stuff. And to maintain, you know, financial stability, dog, like, you got to go do shows at churches, even if you don't want to. And so I quit doing church shows a long time ago, and it hurt. And I caught a lot of flack just because I would turn them down and try and book my own gigs at clubs. I remember a lot of people were pretty upset that me and Dre, I used to work with this artist named Dre, and we did this tour, and we did some churches, we did a lot of prisons. Well, in that tour specifically, I think we only did 2. But we did jails, churches, and bars and clubs. And adding the bars and clubs, even if we were still doing the churches, was like a no-no. And then when we nixed the churches, it's like, oh, we're booking bars and we're selling tickets at the door like normal artists. I don't want some youth pastor telling me that I can't perform that song. Mm-hmm. And that's what would happen is I would have more explicit kind of like thematic elements. I would talk about drugs and drug use, and I wouldn't talk about it in like a past tense. I'm like, no, it's like, this is what I'm talking about right now. This is my life today. And that kind of stuff would turn into this like well, you can't say that here because these kids are 14. And I'm like, well, they shouldn't be here. They shouldn't even be listening to my music, bro. Like a 14-year-old has no idea what it is I'm talking about in this song specifically. And I got a bunch of other songs they can listen to, and that's awesome. But to be censored because of the space that I'm in, I was like, we can't keep doing this. So we started booking venues and selling tickets at the door. And, you know, we did that for a couple of years. And I'm just, at this point, like I said, I'm happy to be, like, out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I like working with other artists to kind of maintain, like, I don't know, I guess scratch the itch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, and that's my perception was, like, when I knew of you before I had met you, your music was not like other Christian artists to begin with. It was very not, because what I've now it's not like that, which is interesting because now they've broken out of this mold. Really.
There's a lot more dudes doing what I was doing. I mean, and I don't mean to say it like that. I don't like to take any kind of credit for any of that stuff because I think there was a lot of dudes doing that before me that definitely.
I think there was a handful of you guys that were like doing something that was more like mainstream sounding.
For sure.
And then you had your typical other people that just had this sound that was just like Christian rap. Is literally what it sound like. You hear it, and you know what it sounds like.
It's a genre, it's a style. Our stuff was way more underground. It was way more gritty. It was way more hip hop, and it was way less appropriate for kids. And I think that was the big thing. Is like I'm making adult music, and it has a lot of Christian themes because I'm a Christian. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not going to be dishonest about who I am in my life. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I think that was the other thing that I experienced in the gospel music industry is just this like perspective that as an entertainer, like, right, as a person with a platform, as a person with influence, whatever you want to say, if you're a Christian, you can't let people know that you fuck up ever. You know what I'm saying? And even if it's not a fuck up, you can't let people know that you do shit that is like not wholeheartedly accepted. Like people found out, like certain people found out that I would smoke weed from time to time, especially if I'm in a legal state. Like it's super on. The only reason, you know, in states like Texas it's tough is like, you know, it's a black market, so you never really know what you're getting. You don't know where it came from, you don't know who grew it. But like, I love weed. I think marijuana is amazing. I don't think it's wrong. I think alcohol is terrible and it's killing people and destroying families. And I smoke weed and want to go to bed and I don't hurt in the morning after deadlifting 500 pounds. It's freaking amazing. You see what I'm saying? People find stuff like that out and it's like, well, that's unacceptable. You can't let people find out, even though we'll tell you it's not wrong. Like you won't go to hell for smoking weed, but like just don't tell anybody that you do it. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's kind of the idea. It's in the thing is like I think sometimes people like to have this idea in the Christian world, or it doesn't matter what world you're in. You know, people paint this picture that if you're an influencer is the best way to explain it.
I hate that word, but I feel you.
Not on social media, but if you're an influencer, like someone of influence over people, you can't be honest. Like you can't be a genuine person when. Like, especially in our culture, you know, people are expected to uphold this picture of, like, they don't have problems.
Well, that's the thing. I remember people used to say shit to me all the time about, bro, like, the way you talk is going to ruin your witness. And I was like, who the fuck, like, what's the...
What does that even
mean?
Explain
to me how... and this is what I remember saying this to a person. I was like, since when did a non-believer get to tell a believer what a good witness was? And I was like, and who decides what a good witness is? I was like, outside of what we believe or supposed to believe, this is the Bible, it's going to determine like, hey, this is a person with character and morals and integrity. And this is a person with a great witness for the gospel. It says a bunch of stuff about that. Strong language isn't one of those things. You know, smoking cigars is not, I don't even smoke cigars. But I'm just saying, like, smoking cigarettes is not one of those things. That doesn't make you more godly just because you don't like nicotine.
God gave us free will for a reason.
Well, yeah, there you go. Boom.
It's
that's the thing. Is like, yeah, bro, I just the whole like don't ruin your witness thing. I'm like, bro, like I've had people say that kind of shit to me, and like those people like were not like upright. You know what I'm saying? Like did have poor character in certain areas that did come out eventually, and I think that's one thing for me that I've realized. Not that I'm perfect at all, like bro, Jesus, but that like. Some of the people who were really like aggressive with me about the way that I was, like some of the shit that has come out about them in recent years has been like,
Yeah.
you were doing all of that while you were mad at me because I drink beer.
I feel like outside of like the spiritual realm too, in general, people that are accept you for who you are the people that, you know, have the biggest impact in general anyways.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Even who I've always had this in mentality, like who are we to judge anybody anyways? You know what I mean? Like I'm nobody, I make mistakes, you know, just like I personally don't drink, I don't do any drugs or anything like that. But that's my choice.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If my friends like to drink and my friends like to smoke, or if my friends like to do cocaine, I don't care.
Man,
they're still my friends.
Right.
That's their choice to do.
That's something I had a conversation with somebody about this recently, and because I got some rough friends, and I've had some people be like, "Man, he's really rough," and I just be like, "Bro, like when I'm friends with somebody, I'm gonna be friends with them where they're at. If they make it further, tight, I'm gonna be friends with them there. If they regress, like I'll be friends with them there." I mean, obviously, you're not gonna be friends with somebody who like does some crazy shit to you, like if somebody
Who's ruining your life.
Yeah, if somebody's ruining my life, but if it's just like the homie and he likes to go out every Friday, I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, bro, get your shit together, man." Like, come on. It's just, you know, I think for me, it's like picking your battles, picking what hills to die on. It's like, bro, that's not like most of my relationships with. I think I have like maybe 2 or 3 contentious relationships with people that I'm fighting to maintain the relationships with. Outside of those 2 or 3 people, and those 2 or 3 people I care about so much that I am fighting to like, hey, like let's figure out what's wrong with us. I don't have any issues with people because people know who I am. It's like, well, you know what you're getting. Like you know, Alex doesn't have any ulterior motives. He's not, you know, I am who people think I am. And I think that's the thing that most people who meet me, they're like, oh, so this is what you're really like. Yes, bro.
Pretty
like,
simple.
It's pretty basic. And that's another weird thing about like even just doing music. You know, like you said, like you had heard of who I was before I met you. I am like that doesn't happen very much anymore. And when it does, like if somebody recognizes me outside of like my like personal relationships, people that I know, like I was in the store and a guy walked up to me and he looked like he couldn't tell if it was me, and he asked me if I was who I was, and he was like, "Bro, you look different." And I was like, "Well, I lost like 200 pounds." That's why it don't happen no more, and it's kind of awesome that nobody can recognize me. But in Texas, I would get spotted like maybe twice a year. Like it wasn't like a thing. It was still bizarre, like super bizarre. And so because of that, I was always like, I can't really fuck off if I want to, anyways, because people know who I am to some extent. And I've been in weird places where I didn't think anybody would know who I was. And they'd be like, you know that guy? And I'm like, oh, shit. So if I was in here screwing off or, like, trying to cheat on my wife or trying to do a bunch of drugs, like, they would have known who I was.
Yeah.
So it's just good to just be who you are all of the time. And that's, like, your original question. Do you feel like Christian rappers are a little bit not genuine? And it's like, yes, absolutely.
Not even so much in the music. I feel like in general.
It's
a general perception. And the thing is, I think a lot of people have this wrong idea about Christians because I think there's a lot of really good Christian people out there. Like in general. You know, just like anything, you know, just because people are in the streets, like with the protesting.
Oh, yeah.
Just because some people are lighting buildings on fire and shit doesn't mean that they're all bad people.
Right,
you know?
For sure. I mean,
you know, they're only highlighting the people that are doing things that are really extreme, and it's the same thing in the Christian realm. You know, you got the Hillsborough Church or whatever,
crazy shit.
Those crazy bastards who are
protesting outside of funerals.
Yeah, like, and then people paint like a broad stroke over all people that claim to be Christians. Like, hey, look, these are your people.
Bro,
that's not my people. I'm responsible for me.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day because I'm white in a lot of black spaces. My wife is black. Like most of my family members are black. Everybody that lives in my house is black, and they're like West Indian. Like they're not even American black. Like I'm in an interesting place, and I was having a conversation with somebody talking about white people, and I was like, bro, you got to stop saying white people. I was like, I get it. I say white people all the time. Like people ask me stuff, and I'll be like, that's some white people shit, just because it's a joke. But when it comes to these, like, that's Christian. Bruh, do you know, like, first of all, the amount of denominations, but individuals within a church, within church leaderships, the amount of disagreements between this elder, this member. nobody has the same opinions about anything. And so it's like with the whole white people thing, it's like white people in Alabama are nothing like white people in California, are nothing like white people in New York.
It's
Oregon, Texas. They're all freaking different.
A
They're
person-
the most diverse group of people ever.
the easiest way to explain
White.
it is if a person's a piece of shit, it doesn't matter what the exterior looks
Right.
like.
That's
They're
exactly
a piece of
right.
shit.
And that's the thing is you just, and I was telling my nephew that yesterday, he's 16, and I was like, bro, you got to go people on an individual basis. I was like, I know that sounds super basic and shit. I was like, but at the end of the day, dude, like, I've experienced things that you'll never experience. He's experienced things that I'll never experience. And that's part of being human. Like, we're not the same. And, you know, I think that's the same thing with Christians, bro. Methodists, Calvinists, Reformed folks, Presbyterians, Pentecostals, Baptists, like, bro, these people, some of them don't even like each other, let alone agree. And so it's like, dog, you can't just be like, Christians suck. Christians don't suck. And you're just being dishonest. Like, that's kind of a, I can't remember the phrase, but it's like a thing from debate. I can't remember what the term is, but it's like, that's bullshit. That's what I would say. I don't know. I don't think people do any favors to themselves when they generalize anything.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like the idea I just did a podcast recently, and I was talking about the George Floyd thing, and you know, a lot of people are really vocal and, you know, saying like, well, if you're, especially if you're a white person and you're not being vocal about it, I'm like, just because I'm not posting about it doesn't mean anything.
That doesn't mean I'm not vocal about it, or
Yeah.
vocal within
Or-
my context,
or
vocal
action-
within my own heart, or doing anything.
Action's more important than saying
than
something.
posting on fucking Instagram, and that's the thing that I hate right now. A lot of my music has been activism oriented. People knew me from saying shit that was pissing off a lot of white people because I would say shit that white people would not normally say. I got a lot of songs about racism and systemic oppression and injustices and things like that. My little brother just got out of prison in January. I've got people in my family. Like, if I didn't become a Christian when I did, I probably would have went to jail at some point in my life. I don't know when, but I mean, I probably would have, just because of where I lived and the people that I knew and the shit that we did together. And that's what my brother did. He stayed where we lived, the people he knew. He went to jail, and he deserved to. There was no injustice in that. My brother was a piece of shit. And you know, he's working on it now to be a better person, but like, he just got out of prison, so it's crazy. Anyways, the whole social media activism stuff, I think it has a place, but I think people who act like that shit is really doing stuff are tripping. I think celebrities and people who post and give like mass exposure to something, that's like thumbs up. But if you got 200 followers, fuck you, dude. You're not really doing it. Well, not that, but it's just like, don't make it seem like you're doing something crazy. Go give some money to a relief fund. Go volunteer somewhere.
It's
like,
it's weird because I feel like it's a longing to belong to something.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
And like,
people want purpose, dog.
And it's just, this whole thing is just crazy because, like, you know, I just think to myself, like, ultimately, like, I have some pretty extreme thoughts about the whole thing because, you know, the stuff that I've read about and the stuff that I know about, like, colored people have been oppressed and systematically oppressed and all this stuff for so long. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things we live in America. We're very fortunate. There's a lot of things that are awesome about America, but there's a lot of things that are slowly degrading. And then that's when you get stuff like this. And then people are pissed. Now, so I saw something the other day, and it was like just interesting because it's like, you know, I think the protesting and the rioting and looting doesn't help anybody. Mm-hmm. I think that if people really wanted to change something, they would be at these the courthouses, destroying the courthouse. I'm not condoning that it's the right thing to do, but if you really want to change something, why are you victimizing business owners?
Right.
You know,
and that's the thing is, for me, is about to be a business owner. I was literally thinking about that because I'm with the shit. I'm like, fuck it, but to burn it down, like burn it all down. Like, people don't listen. People been trying to peacefully protest for a long ass time, and people got problems with that. The whole Kaepernick divide, the Trump. We live in Trump's America right now, and Trump's America is pretty awesome for me. I'm a white dude. And it's pretty awesome for most other people. We live in a free country. The reality is those experiences though, for those people, it's like, yeah, no, like you see the world through a different lens. So they're not thinking through. It's first of all, I hate the word riot, and when I see these things, I see more like rebellious behavior than I see just like, oh shit. It's just like we want to do something. We don't know what to do. I don't even know where the governor's office is. I live in this neighborhood. Fuck that store. I'm mad. You see what I'm saying? And then there's a bunch of other shit about like who actually started these fires. And,
I've seen that too.
You know what I'm saying?
But this is my thing. My
People,
my guess on it, and this is just my personal opinion on this whole thing. We haven't had any prominent, strong leadership in this country since Martin Luther King, JFK. After that whole era died, Malcolm X and all those guys died. There has been a strong effort to keep a unification of people, and mobilizing people for a better world, like without the bullshit. Mm-hmm. Because right now we live in this era where, you know, there's a lot of partisan, like a lot of people are, you know, fucking around with parties, and you support Trump or you support Biden. It's like, who gives a shit? I don't get them all out of there. Get both parties out of there. And that's my thing.
The two-party system is the root freaking issue. I mean, part of the root, but it's like that is the issue number one, is the fact that there's you know, however many fucking people in America, and they got two choices. Bro, McDonald's got more than two choices. You see what I'm saying? Like, people need options. Like, everybody's different.
That's what I'm saying. These systems are just degrading every year because, I mean, the whole system is manipulated. DNC is like a mafia. Yeah, they control who the hell they want in there. And then you got the Republicans. They're all spineless to stand up to. And the thing is, I like some ideas that are Republican. I like some things that are Democrat.
For sure. I fall more neutral, kind of in the middle. I used to be like a diehard libertarian. Now I just don't fucking care enough to label myself.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just like, I like this guy or don't. I like Yang. If it came down to, you know, Bernie or Trump, I was gonna be a Bernie dude. Just because. I mean, that's not like Bernie is the greatest option. These fucking crazy old guys. This is another thing that I don't think anybody talks about. Trump is like 75 years old, bro. Have you been around a 75-year-old lately? This is gonna sound incredibly ageist, but they shouldn't be running shit.
No. I've always said that. I think
what the fuck is going on that our choices are like old guys who can't walk?
They're out of touch with reality. You have a group of people that run the Senate, the Congress, and the executive office.
Have you talked to a 15-year-old lately? 14-year-old, like, people are so worried about like Gen Z and all these new kids coming up. They're finna fuck the whole, like, I don't think they're gonna mess anything. I think they're gonna be the smartest people that we've ever experienced.
For sure.
I think they're gonna work differently for sure than like boomers and the generations and shit like that. I think millennials are in a weird spot because I think our parents like fucked the world up for sure. I don't think we did any better, and I think the kids next, they were born with iPhones in their hands. My nephew knows shit that he just shouldn't know.
Well, the thing is like the channel of information is different, and I've always said this. Yeah, I'm on the millennial cusp, but these younger generations, they're not like all these older people. These older people get
tail end millennial, aren't you? Yeah, you're like the last.
Yeah. These older generations get all their information from media outlets. Look, these young kids,
they're on the
they
internet.
Get millions of articles, and the thing is, the reason why they're smart and they don't give a shit about anything is because they see one article that says Trump killed, because of Trump's acts, he killed thousands of people, and then on the next article they see Trump did a good job with this and that. So they're like, what the fuck am I supposed to believe?
Exactly, dude. Twitter is a goddamn joke. And in that executive order this week thing that they did about online censorship, and it's like, bro, like, it's a lot. But that's what I'm saying is whenever I'm around kids right now, like specifically I'm like my buddy Honoree, his son Malachi, like these kids are like sharp. And I mean, I don't know how good they are at like writing papers and doing math problems. I'm sure they're good as any other kid who's ever been taught in a classroom. I'm talking about like the way they see the world and the way they think. not the same as the way I saw the world when I was 16. That shit is different. Like, it's like they got a 10-year head start. Like, they became 20 when they were 10. They got a phone and it was over.
Well, they don't. The thing is like the perception of life is just different. I almost feel like you're like Europe and all these other countries have this idea of like your happiness is the most important. Mm-hmm. And then boomers had this idea of like you work hard and then when you retire you can enjoy life. And these younger kids don't give a shit about that. Mm-mm. They'll take less pay and work from home because they'll be happier like that. And like it's just the shift is just different. I find the biggest problem though is like especially with like people my age and younger is that we don't know what hard work looks like. So when you get the pressure of it, it's not that they don't want to work hard. And that's why a lot of the older generation shit on us is because they're lazy. It's like, no, we want to work hard, but it looks different for one, and like two, when we experience it, you guys are the ones that didn't challenge us. You know, well, a lot of people don't accept responsibility for the way that the things are now. It's because of what was instilled.
Us, right? It's like who were the people instructing us, and that was something. I just turned 30 in December. How old are you? Like 25. Yeah. I just turned 30 in December. That's a weird age, bro, because I'm old enough now to remember all of my 30-year-old friends from when I was like 16 to 20 to 25. And I'm still friends with some of those people, you know, but I'm just saying, like, when I was a younger dude, I had a bunch of 30-year-old men in my life. And I remember some of the bullshit those dudes said to me. Like, I would never say that to a kid.
Now?
It's even worse. I can remember, and this kind of bothered me because, like, I remember my parents from when I was like, 5, but I don't remember my parents from when I was like 5. I remember my parents from when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15. I can remember what my parents were like when they were 30. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that shit is weird because I think about who I am and I think about who they were and who they are now. It's just very interesting to consider. There's a lot of bitterness in it, to be honest with you. Parents and friends and family and anything. But it's just like remembering all of the moronic 30, 40-year-old men who said shit and invested in my life. And in hindsight, I'm like, Jesus, I wish I didn't even meet you. I wish I never fucking met you.
When you said it, though, I think to myself, like, as old as I am now, and as I continue to get older, it's weird thinking back of growing up and experiencing your parents, right?
Because they're growing at the same time as you.
You are like cross-referencing what you're experiencing, what they are, and you're like, when you were a kid, you just didn't have the depth of what was happening. And then now you know that, like, looking back, you're like, there's so much more behind the scenes that you don't understand.
Right.
It's a weird thing to think about. Like, just thinking about it now, it's kind of trippy. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's so much shit. Like, with my nephew lives with me, and he just turned 16. And I had to have a conversation with him because he's incredibly mature. He's very smart. He's super athletic. He looks good. Like, he's a good kid in general. So he's got a lot of good shit going for him. And every now and then, like, he'll just be like, like, to a certain extent, it'll come off a little cocky, not super arrogant, but it's just like, I'm more mature than most kids my age. And, sometimes he's more mature than adults, and it's frustrating. Especially trying to, like, bring him back down and be like, hey, Chris, like, you're not an adult. And I'm, like, looking around, and he's probably the most mature person in the room. That sucks. There's a difference between, like knowledge and understanding, right? And, like, maturity and experience. You see what I'm saying? So Chris is very mature. He's not experienced because he hasn't lived long enough to experience anything really. And he is smart, but, like, he's not very, like, practiced. You see what I'm saying? He hadn't been able to put any of this knowledge in his head, he hadn't been able to use any of the stuff that he knows in life because he is still a kid. And I was like, maturity and, it only goes so far. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of immature adult people in the world running shit. You know what I'm saying? Because they have understanding. What you lack is understanding, even though you're, like, rich in maturity and being a good person. And I think that's what most kids right now, when you talk to a 15 or 16-year-old and you look at them and you're like, damn, you're kind of impressive. Just wait till they have experience. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing that's going to just take off is in the next 4 or 5 years when these 15-year-olds are 20 and they're in college or work or whatever it is that they're doing and they start to get that experience, that knowledge is going to turn very practical. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's just the way that I see it. I could be completely fucking wrong, but it's just like one of those things. The more conversations I have with kids, I'm just like, wait until you guys have experience with the shit that you talk. Because sometimes I'm like, you guys talk a bunch of shit about stuff you don't know about. But when they do know about it, it's not shit talking anymore. Because a lot of them do know what they're talking about. It's just all, it's all here. It's all talk. It's all fingers, thumbs. It's like, well, you're 15, bro. Nobody gives a shit what you think. You haven't lived.
Yeah.
But when they do live, I think they're going to be important people. I think the next generation is going to be interesting to watch. Just also to technology. Their access to information and technology is just completely different, even than us. Like, bro, I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a cell phone until I moved out of my mom's house. I moved out when I was 18, 12 years ago. Chris has had a phone for 12 years. He's 16.
I had a phone when I was in 6th grade. I had a Razor. And then, but that was back before smartphones.
What year was 6th grade?
6th grade, oh man, I don't remember what year that was.
See, because when I moved out of my mom's house is when smartphones actually got popular.
Okay, so if I graduated in 13, that would be how many years? 6 years ago? So like 2007?
Okay, so yeah, that's exactly. I moved out of my mom's house in 07, and I had a Palm Pilot. So that was my first smartphone, and I had the little stick and all that shit. Chris has had top of the line technology. People were still figuring out what the fuck a smartphone was. A smartphone was you can text, call, and have a calendar. You know, you couldn't even get on the internet back then. Like you said, you got a Razor and you could take pictures and play Snake. You see what I'm saying? And it looks cool. But like these kids, he's got shit on he's got one app on his phone called Sweatcoin. He keeps his phone in his pocket. He walks around. This company gives him money for every step he takes. And like in the last 2 weeks, just based off his steps, he's earned $80 in gift cards. He's 15. Do you see what I'm saying? Like they're different. They're just different, dog. I'll go hiking. He'll be like, let me turn my sweat coin on. We about to do 8 miles. By the end of the trip, he's earned $25 in gift cards. You see what I'm saying? It's like, okay, all right, bro. So I just, kids are interesting. I don't even remember what we were talking about. The rambling man.
That's how it goes, man. You just start rambling on, and next thing you know, you don't even know where you're at.
Yeah.
All right, let's just talk about, your weight loss thing, because that's thing is very important, you know. I think me and you, we're not experts.
No, I don't consider myself at all.
The only thing I would say I'm not an expert, but I can definitely train somebody in the terms of when it comes to strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
But as someone who has lost a lot of weight when it comes to nutrition, that's always a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because, at least in personal experience, what I tell everybody is like, look, I'm not an expert. I struggle with this shit myself.
For sure.
But people have to realize that this is really a trial and error thing.
You got to experiment with your body.
Exactly.
Literally see what works.
Because it's like not a one size fits all. And then
not at all.
You find out what works for you and you stick to it.
Yeah.
But I feel like most people fall into this trap of like, oh, I'm going to do keto, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Look, make a lifestyle change. And
that was frustrating, man. That's always frustrating. Like in the gym management context, bro, like when I was managing the Anytime, we had 1,500 members. So my door is constant. People are popping in, popping out. They're always asking me, hey, man, what should I do? Hey, man, what should I do? Oh, man, I tried this and this didn't work. I'm on these pills. What do you think about these? And it's all like, I'm going to try keto. I'm going to try carnivore. I'm going to try vegan. I'm like, just do it. Whatever you do, do it for long enough for it to work or to see if it won't work. Nobody wants to hear the truth is it takes way longer than you think it will.
Well, and that's the first thing is like when I would talk to people, and if it was in any kind of realm of fitness, CrossFit or personal training or anything like that, they're like, why don't I lose 15 pounds? I'm like, look, you could lose 15 pounds in a month and then have it back like that, or we could do this the right way.
And you can lose
and in 6 months,
right.
You would lose 15 pounds and feel good, look good, and not get it back.
Yeah, it's not coming back because and that's the thing is your body is. Have you ever told yourself to sweat? You see what I'm saying? Don't think about that. You're supposed to say no, fool. Your body. My point is, your body.
This is a trick question.
No. Your body is a self-regulating machine, fool. Like you don't tell your hair to grow. You don't tell yourself to sweat. Your body does shit based off of your actions. You put stuff in, stuff comes out. You see what I'm saying? Like, if like calories in the weight loss, you don't have to be an expert. I'm not a nutritionist. I tell people all the time, I'm not a doctor. You want to ask me some question I don't know the answer to? Go fucking talk to a doctor, bro. I'm not finna hurt you or get you.
So if I eat enough fiber and my mitochondria are, I just like, huh?
I want to drink these flat tummy teas for the next 6 weeks and shit my brains out, and I just be sitting there looking, bro. These ladies in these gyms, sometimes I feel so bad, and that's why I was intent on I need to own the gym that I work in, so that I can say what I need to say to these people and not be like handcuffed to this corporate, like, oh yeah, keep it going, guys. That's not bullshit at all. Like, I hated it. And we sold some of that stuff. I had trainers selling that stuff, and it's all fucking snake oil. Nobody wants to actually do the work to wake your ass up, go run, go jog, go climb something, go fucking swim, go do something to that is using your body. Your body wants to be used. It's a machine. It's a really dope machine. And when you maintain it like a car, right? Put oil in, you put gas in, you put the shit that needs to go into it so that you can get where you need to go. Your body is literally no different. It's such a basic metaphor, but like people are like, oh, that makes sense. And I'm like, I don't fucking understand you guys. And that's coming from somebody who doesn't know. Like you said, I'm not an expert. I just don't get the sheepish mass, like, let me just jump into this thing I know nothing about and do it because, you know, this influencer on Instagram said that, you know, carbs are bad or carnivore is the only way, or, you know, vegan athletes are the best. And it's just like, well, whatever, pick. Like, whatever, just pick. And I like those debates. I was a vegan for 8 months. It was like a strict vegan, not vegetarian, like vegan, no animal products, nothing. And I gained weight while doing that. I felt pretty good.
I did it for vegetarian, vegan. I wasn't like straight vegan. It was vegetarian, vegan for, I think, 6 or 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Gained weight.
And I felt fat.
Yeah, I gained so much weight, bro. I did. It was bad. That's 2017. I was doing CrossFit with y'all when I was a vegan. Stupid. The first time. The second time, because I remember I came back to y'all's gym in 2018, right before I moved to Austin. And at that point, I had probably already lost about 100 pounds. I wasn't where I am now, but I was kind of like, oh wow, like I look different than the first time you met me. And I had, by that time, got rid of the vegan stuff because I was like, look, I mean, I'm still a fan of it. I'm still very like, I eat a lot of green shit that comes from when I was a vegan, like kale and spinach and like, you know, I'll do the smoothies and stuff like that just to have it in my diet. But like to rely on that and then like bread and spaghetti and like carbs and pastas and things like that for energy and like muscle growth, it's freaking hard. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've ever tasted vegan protein. It's just ass. It's fucking terrible. That shit tastes like death.
Yeah.
So the vegan shit didn't work for me. I was a carnivore for 8 weeks. I ate a pound of grass-fed ground beef once a day for the first 4 weeks. That was all I ate. I didn't have like the digestive issues that a lot of other people say. It's like it makes you like not be able to use the bathroom or use the bathroom too much. I lost like maybe 10 pounds, mm-hmm. and a lot of it I think was muscle. Ironically, I don't think I was eating enough protein.
Yeah.
My macros probably should have been more around like 300 grams of protein a day to maintain the muscle, because I was in a severe calorie deficit. And even though I was eating a massive amount of protein, it's still a calorie deficit. My body was getting rid of shit. So I don't think I did the carnivore thing right. I want to try it again. I like food.
I think I heard that you're supposed to be having like a lot of additional animal fat too.
Yeah, collagen and different kinds of, like, I was cooking in bison tallow. So like I would cook the beef in bison fat. Mm-hmm. And I was eating a bunch of other random shit too. Like I would just do, that was my one meal. I'd come home, I'd cook the pound. And it was basically just like a big ass burger. Mm-hmm. And I just sit there and eat it with a fork. And then I was thinking about getting some they have these like freeze dried liver bites. Mm-hmm. It's like look like dog treats for people. I never got into that, but people were talking about liver and collagen and marrow and, you know, bone broth soup, and I was like, I'm not getting into it that deep, guys. I'm not a fucking caveman. I like when you used to be 400 pounds, like people got to understand that shit doesn't happen by accident. Like my genetics are definitely set to where like if I eat chips, I'm gonna be fat.
I'm lucky I worked out from 16 to now, because if I didn't, I played computer games.
Mm-hmm.
I like Cosmic Brownies. I like Little Debbie's. I like
huge.
pizza. I would
That's
be
what happened to me, bro.
massive.
That is what happened to me. Was chips, brownies, sodas, and video games, and not playing sports in high school. I played the guitar, and you don't have to run to play the guitar. So
No, you don't.
I was like, dog. And in high school, people were pissed because I've been 6'2", 250 since I was 14, and then I just stopped growing. I've been the same size forever. So it's like, you should play football. No. You should wrestle. No. You should do no. I'm going home. I'm going home every day. I'm not staying at this school.
Going home and playing Halo.
Yeah, straight up. We had LAN parties back then with the Ethernet cables and the freaking router in the middle of the house. We used to have Xbox in different rooms. Those some things. We got really fat drinking Mountain Dew and shit. And so, I mean, it was like me, my cousins, my brothers. We were all literally. We looked like the same dude. We had the same shaped body. And now when I see somebody look like that, I'm like, he got a sugar body. That dude eats too much sugar. Because you can tell when somebody's overweight because they drink alcohol. You can tell when somebody's overweight just because they're overweight, like over time. And then you can tell when somebody is definitely eating way too much fucking sugar. Like when I see somebody and they're
I feel like people with sugar,
soft,
they like accumulate fat like everywhere on their body.
Yeah, it comes on your hands.
It's not really like people that drink a lot of alcohol. They just get it like in their stomach,
and it gets hard.
Yeah.
Sugar bodies are squishy, soft everywhere, and that's what I had. I wasn't squishy, but I was still pretty damn soft, bro. And that's the thing is like, one thing for me, realizing everything is about like potential and capability for me now. It's like when I was 400 pounds, it didn't ever stop me from doing shit. I had ran 10Ks before. It just took me forever. But you know what I mean? Like it didn't keep me in the house. Like I wasn't some massive dude. Like you met me when I was pretty big. And I wasn't even probably the biggest dude that you knew. You know what I'm saying? Like I was always big, but not like, oh damn.
It didn't look like you were like abnormally large.
I'm tall and wide.
Yeah.
I'm tall and wide as hell, and it's just like, okay, he's got weight to lose. I didn't know I had 200 pounds to lose because I've been big, and everybody's just like, that's a big dude. He should play football. He's big. My brain not knowing anything about physical fitness, I always felt like because I'm big, I'm probably strong. You know, there's probably lots of muscle under this. My legs are definitely strong because I'm walking around this big all the time. All of that shit is false. Bro, I remember the first time I tried to bench press 2 plates, just 245s, 135 on bar. Sunned my life. Almost broke my neck. And it was some pride shit where I was like, how do you weigh, 300 pounds and you can't bench press 135? Like, what the fuck kind of bullshit is that? And then it was, squatting. I was like, well, I should be able to squat. Bro, I'm finally getting close to like 400 plus on back squats.
Yeah.
My front squat and my back squat were the same for like 2 years straight. It sucked. There's a lot of physiology that I'm fixing. There's a lot of posture issues. I have a twisted pelvis that's also tilted forward. My lower back is dead straight. It's screwed. My neck curves in the wrong directions. My shoulders roll forward, and my scaps do not like to sit back.
Yeah.
I know everything that's wrong with me because 3 years ago I thought I was fine, and then I realized I was like, damn, bro, like you're gonna die. Like this is gonna kill you. Like you're not strong. If you needed to run somewhere, you would die. If you needed to get away, if you needed to defend yourself, if you needed to do anything, like you would be in trouble. And that's what a lot of the fitness stuff has turned into for me is, can you fight? Can you shoot a gun? Can you shoot straight? Can you protect your family? Can you provide for your family? And I think fitness is one of those things that people neglect.
I think it's like one of the things that I'm getting more and more like, I think is like something as a humanity we're losing touch with.
Right, and it's important.
It's like the bare necessity of like being primal.
Yeah.
Like can you survive
if you need to? I get it, bro.
By
We're
any
in a
means.
giant fucking zoo right now. We all got our own little habitats. We get in our cars. We go to the store. We buy our prepackaged shit. We come home. It's tight. But like, if you needed to, can you skin a deer? Can you fish? Do you know how to make?
Can you farm?
Right. Like, can you do anything?
If your life wasn't in danger, could you get away?
Here's
Like-
the thing: all of those guys who people view as like Neanderthals in the woods or whatever. I mean, now it's becoming more popular, and you got the Cameron Haneses and the David Goggins and these super extreme like outdoors people. More Cameron Hanes than David Goggins, but I'm saying like there's those people exist, right? But in general, most people view hunters as like rednecks.
Mhm.
You know, most people view farmers as super fucking basic. But like, I always ask people this. I'm like, look, dog, they shut your water and your power off for a week. Will you make it?
Find a way.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? And like, but if you hit somebody with that question, they're like, well damn, like I don't even
I'll go
know.
to my in-laws' house.
Like, how do you? Yeah. Well, no. Everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah.
Who's gonna make it? The rednecks and the Neanderthals and them country motherfuckers who in the woods with guns and farming, they're gonna be okay. And it's all of us who have just like completely become dependent on this like system of privilege and ease of access to resources that like we don't even think about this shit as resources. This is all resources all around us. This is power, lights, water, and food in this room. Bro, people used to have to work for months outside to get any of this shit.
That's the thing that I like. I love technology. I love learning. I love science. I love like quantum physics and space and all that shit's really cool to me.
Ooh.
I like reading about it. I like hearing about it. Like, I like stuff that blows my mind. And like, it makes me wish that I was more of an academic type of person and went to school for it.
Same.
I just hate school. So I never got there, but that stuff is so fascinating, and I kind of understand it a little bit. That like I feel like if that's something that I could fit into, but even though I love those things, I also love the other side of the spectrum. Like the more I see things about nature and being free to just survive, and that's all you worry about, like it's almost like the most freeing thing in the world.
Yeah.
The only thing you got to worry about.
You don't need anyone.
That's it.
It's the lack of need for anything and anyone. Those people, they're not gonna be popular. They're gonna be a little bit weird, and that's why I'm glad that there are some of these like influential people who are getting sponsorships from Under Armour talking about, can you hunt? Can you grow food? Like, this is important because what if we go into like martial law or civil war? And I'm not saying that that's gonna happen. I don't think it'll happen, but I also.
If it did, I'm going as far north as I can. I'm gonna try to hide from
Fucking
people.
Eskimo.
Hide from people and then build a cabin or something.
Actually, I just found out Eskimo is a racist term. I take that.
I think they're Inuits.
Inuits.
Yeah.
Eskimo is actually like a racist thing. My bad.
I think I heard that
Inuits.
too.
I heard that like super recently, and I've been conscious of that shit because I've said a lot of things like being the white guy who's like the social activist, being seen as that guy for so long. People start to assume that you know shit that you don't know. I'm from Atlanta. My social activism has way more to do with like black people and poor white people than it does with indigenous people. I don't know a fucking thing about them. It's not in my context. So I say shit, and my manager is Native American, like, and he's like hardcore. Like, I'm indigenous. I fuck with indigenous people. He's a member of a tribe. Like, he's got all of this stuff. Like, he's about it. Like, we are first people.
No one talks about Native Americans,
I don't-
and they were pissed on
Right.
forever.
I don't even. I'm like, damn. I don't know anything about any of y'all. I just know Trail of Tears and whatever the fuck I learned in 7th grade history. You know what
Dude,
I'm
I
saying?
love Native
It's
Americans.
done.
Native Americans, I feel like, are
They gotta.
the most brutal people. For one, they were violent, they were crazy, but also they're the most beautiful. Like, everything about Native American culture, like no matter where, is so unique and different and crazy and beautiful too. They got
What's
some.
bizarre is that it's here. Like that was the culture here before it was colonized. And that's a fucking bee's nest talking about colonization and like pros, cons, and all of that. The fact that I said pros is probably gonna piss people off in the context of colonization. But the reality is, bro, like history went forward. Motherfuckers was pushing and making shit happen, building countries, and in order to do that, they were also taking countries. So
Well, I saw something and it made me think a little bit, and it was just interesting. Was someone was like, something good, not something good, but the only time change really happens is when violence is involved. And if you
yes,
think about
historically,
it,
that is true.
if you think about it, it's really
I
the
think about
truth.
it in this context too, with all of this shit with the George Floyd stuff. This is the thing, is bro, like I'm friends with people who knew him personally, and I'm pretty sure that I met him a couple times.
I've heard a lot of people that have known him too.
Resurrection Houston was a church that I was a part of when I first moved here. It was before I ever met you or your dad, and it was like that was my church. They were in CUNY Homes, where he was from, and he would be out there on that basketball court with them, baptizing people, like in the hood. Like I'm like the worst hood in Houston. Like there were guys out there. There would be people out there trying to do ministry who, to a certain extent, were uncomfortable. Like I won't say afraid, but like you're in a neighborhood that you're like, I didn't know shit like this existed in America. You know what I'm saying?
Third Ward and those places are crazy.
And this guy was out there. He was like, I think, a certified commercial like he drove trucks. He had a CDL and shit like that. And then he did street ministry. Like he would stand on the corner and do stuff with those guys and baptize dudes who gave their life to the Lord on basketball courts, you know, where they were doing outreach ministries and stuff like that. So for me, it's like, it's weird that it's his name that we keep seeing. It's weird that it's like, even though I didn't have a relationship with him, I'm like, that hits really home. Like, you look like people I know. You know what I'm saying? And for black people, that's obvious. Every time they see that shit, it's like, this guy looks like my brother. This guy looks like my husband. This guy looks like my son. What the fuck? But with this specifically, it's like, damn, like, this isn't like across the world or some shit on the internet. This is like, nah, we knew him. Like, how did this happen to somebody we knew? Like, this is not, you know, I'm like, list of 100 people who have been killed by the police in the last year. I didn't feel any kind of way for any of that stuff. I'm like, that's fucked up. The police. I hate the police. Like, I genuinely do. Like, fuck the police. That's how I feel right now. That's how I feel most days. And it just is what it is. I know that that's not a great or the best perspective, but like I said, that's how I feel today. I might feel different tomorrow. But that's how I'm going to be for a while. Like, it's just like, hey, look, fix that shit or burn it down.
I think it's just a broken system. I know cops. I know a lot of good cops. I know a lot of cops that are really good people, you know. And this is what I say is, like, something like that would never happen in Houston. Ever.
I don't think so.
Ever.
I really don't think so. There's so many goddamn black police out here, bro.
That's how Houston force is like Asians, Latinos, blacks, and it's like,
yeah,
bro, like,
if you want to see white cops, you gotta go to like the Woodlands.
You gotta go to Katy.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with that, and that's another thing about policing areas where
they're familiar.
It's like, dog, this is where I'm from. Like, I look like him. I'm not gonna put my fucking knee in his throat and kill him.
Yeah.
Because he looks like my dad, my brother, my son. And I think that shit is important. But it's this situation is a little weird, because even with the whole like rioting, looting aspect of it, I'm just like, bro, businesses have insurance. And if you don't have insurance, like, whatever. This is like these are the repercussions of what has not been addressed by the people who should have addressed it. And now they're dealing with an angry mob who is justifiably angry. Even though they're the mob, like, tell me they're wrong. Or tell me they're more wrong than the system for not fixing it.
Yeah, I did.
Or the people in power for not fixing the system, even though everybody has been acknowledging that the system is fucked up. People have been saying that shit for decades, bro.
Just depends on what you believe. I just think that there's a lot more people at play that play into this more than we would like to believe.
I do believe there are some people pulling strings behind curtains, but for me, I try to stay away from that in the average conversation with, like, I got to me and people close to me are relatively on opposite ends of the political spectrum. I'm family members with a lot of very conservative people. They think I am a liberal asshole, and I am not. I just know what real conservatism is, and they're not. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that shit is frustrating, and it can come off kind of disrespectfully when you just, you know, when you kind of say that to people. I'm like, you're not a real conservative.
It's weird because, like, people would hate. I mean, I'm just saying this just because this is the way I feel. You know, my dad's a pastor. Okay. Abortion. Even though I don't agree with it, I think people have the right to choose what they want.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that. I think that yes, no.
Gay rights. Listen, I don't care what people want to do. If they want to do that, okay, the consequences that come from that is their problem.
It's on them,
not my problem.
It shouldn't be on society. It shouldn't be on the culture. It shouldn't be on any of that stuff. And this is the thing. This is a conversation I had with somebody recently about opening this gym. Right, I'm opening this gym in Atlanta. There's a lot of stuff popping up, a lot of different expenses. There's all these different things going on. I'm trying to open a gym. I'm not trying to open, so like, or are we gonna play music with cussing in it? Are we gonna do this? Are we gonna have this? Are we gonna do that? And I was like, bro, I'm not opening the church. I'm opening the gym. If you're a Muslim and you want to come work out in here in a hijab, I don't give a fuck. If you're gay and you want to come work out you're a dude and you want to come work out in fucking nail polish and whatever, I don't give a shit, bro. Like, I really don't. It's a gym. Mm-hmm. Everybody should be able.
Everybody's welcome. Whatever you want. That's the thing is like, and that's like my opinion is like, I'm like very progressive in that regard. I don't care what people want to do. If you want to be trans, I don't give a shit. As long as you're not forcing stuff on me, saying that I have to refer to my daughter as a cis female. I don't give a shit about that. If you want to be called a man or a woman, I don't care. I'll call you. I'll respect that.
Absolutely.
I respect that. But when you start integrating into other stuff, that's when I have a problem. And then the same thing, like when you want to talk about the other side,
that's the whole thing of government overreach, bro.
I think that government should be smaller. I think
absolutely.
That people.
That's why I was pissed off about this fucking executive order, and I was like, dog, you're mad. You literally just signed an executive order because you're mad at Twitter. Like, that's the most.
I think though that those dudes, that's another story. I think that those people have too much power.
The Twitter, 100%. And the
Facebook, Twitter, really all those, like, YouTube. Oh, the kind of control that they have.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is going on YouTube. This is probably not good to talk about, but hey, the amount of power and the censorship that they have is ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy, but again, I'm just like, dog, Donald Trump, you say crazy shit on Twitter, just like anybody else, you're going to get that same whatever, because those people who run that company are running it how they have decided to run their company. We're just the ones on it. And that's the thing about even those organizations having as much power as they have. It's like, bro, we all signed up and gave them our info. We're on the platform with everybody else, accepting it with everybody else. And the thing about just writing too many laws about too much shit that does not matter. That does not matter. Like, there's a bunch of shit going on. He could have wrote an executive order for it. This motherfucker wrote it about a tweet. Come on, dog. Like,
I'm not to defend him.
Is like,
but I just think that
extra
people put a lot of pressure. And Donald Trump's case is a little bit different because he does whatever the fuck he wants. Yeah, but
that's true.
When you talk about government, the president really doesn't have that much control as you think. Really, he's just the face of the person to blame. Yeah. So if you think he's the one who's really pulling the strings, he's got a bunch of people that are in his ear. Even though he's egotistical and he won't have people that are going to challenge him, in my belief, I just think that, a lot of the things that people think that should be a problem. Look, if you really want to make a change, you should be voting locally, be involved in politics.
Bro, I'm trying to be a mayor. When I'm 40, I'm trying to run.
I've thought about maybe I need to do something. I don't give a shit.
City council, mayor, go take somebody's spot here in Katy. If somebody's fucking off, take their spot. For real. And that's how I feel about it. It's like, the kids who go to school here, they need people who care about them, not fucking Donald Trump. Donald Trump ain't got nothing to do with what these kids are experiencing in these schools.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? And that's the kind of shit that matters to me, where it's like, well, what are the police? Like, do the police have adequate resources and training to even know how to police? Well, they should in my neighborhood. If they don't, then whose job is it to make sure they do? All right, you got to go, bro. Like, and that's kind of what even in moving back home, like that's one of my goals is eventually I want to try and get a city council seat in my district, and in 10, 15 years, I want to run for like a real seat somewhere.
I for sure would be that, just because like the other people, what qualifies them? Nothing.
Right, bruh.
Nothing.
They got a law degree, and
so,
some of them got it from, I'm not even going to go there.
But my point is that politicians shouldn't be politicians. It should be regular people that experience the day-to-day, that know, who know.
That needs the resources, who have been pulled over by the police, who was an asshole, you know what I'm saying, who needs to be retrained or disciplined or some kind of shit like that. Like, that kind of stuff is very important. And then for me, like, starting this business, I'm like, dog, like, it should be very easy to start a business in a city. Like, we should not have, me and my wife were talking about yesterday, barriers to entry for normal people who don't want to work a 9 to 5 or go work some fucking minimum wage job. If you want to try and start a business, the barriers to entry are incredible. If you want to become an entrepreneur, like you pretty much have to get a loan from a bank or be rich.
Yeah, it's hard.
Or have rich parents. It's fucking insane. And even then, like the banks don't treat everyone the same.
Nope.
And then credit is, we talk about
It's like
credit.
you're too high risk. You're too high risk to give you a loan.
Like credit is there's just so much shit in that. It's like the barriers to entry for normal people to influence, one, government, and two, to have money to further influence government. This is another thing. The older I've gotten, the more money that I've made, the more successful like me and my family have become, which I'm hope to be twice as successful in 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that stuff came at like incredible cost. You see what I'm saying? Like serious sacrifices. Like I've sold everything multiple times. I've moved across the country like 4 or 5 times chasing opportunity because I don't have rich parents. Whereas, if this guy, he does his business and that shit don't work out, well, fuck, that was just whatever front-end investment his dad gave him is just gone.
It's a drop in the bucket.
And it's, well, what's the next idea? We're going to do this. Or it's not always dad. It may be, dad will co-sign on a loan for you, and so you get a better loan from the bank than the next guy. At the end of the day, if you're a normal dude who was like came up without means or just a regular old middle-class person, if you want to become an entrepreneur, you got to work fucking hard. And all of those rich guys, they're just filling the space. It's frustrating. But the more of those guys I meet, to be honest with you, the more supportive they are of like people trying to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Like free market people, like capitalists. I like capitalists.
And that's the thing.
Like
capitalism gets a bad rap, but real capitalism is very different than what we got.
I'm talking about dudes who are like, no, let's get this money. Let's spend this money on our, like, this again, we're talking about, bro, we live in a giant zoo. Right? That's all this is. We all got our own little things. If we want to maintain this lifestyle, right, which is what people who are in government positions, if you're a councilman or a mayor or whatever the hell, like your job is to make sure that people's standard of living, the quality of life in the area that you govern is good. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? I don't know, but those guys do. Like those guys actually know the answers. The problem is some of them are really shitty people.
Yeah.
And they don't care about the ones that don't have it. You see what I'm saying? And so, but again, I've been around a bunch of like Presbyterian, Reformed, and, even in the context of you guys, like, I don't know what y'all's church is. It's like
non-denominational.
Yeah, non-denominational people who just just a turned up church. Like, I feel like there's a lot of entrepreneurial people in that church, and they're putting other people who are not coming from privilege and from wealth on to be able to have influence in a community where they live, where their quality of life is important to them, where the resources are important to them. And do you have a grocery store in your town? That's such a basic question. Forest Park, where my gym is, there's no gym. There's actually no gym for 30 square miles. It's freaking awesome.
That's good for you.
No, that's true. That's a lie. There's 2 Planet Fitnesses.
It's different.
And they're actually like 20 minutes away, and it's a completely different model. But it's one of those things where I was like, this is why when I grew up here, there wasn't a gym. There's never been a gym here. They have shitty grocery stores. They've got a bunch of convenience stores, Family Dollars, gas stations. There is no real healthy food anywhere. You can't get produce. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of stuff that government people should care about. But when your thing is, I'm trying to build these hotels off this highway over here, and I need this, you don't care about none of that stuff. And that's how, schools and poor people get left behind when it comes time to actually like pass laws and vote on shit.
Yeah.
Because people are more worried about zoning and regulations and shit that is like, people who have money care about zoning and regulations and all of these different things. Can I do this here to make money? Yes or no?
Yeah.
That's all they care about. Or, again, like I said, broad strokes don't do anybody any favors, but I'm meeting wealthy people, like, within the last few years who are, like, capitalism and free market is better if there are more of us with money. This whole 1%, like, super wealthy people controlling everything. Even though the guys I know who have money, they're not even part of the 1%. They're just that's what I'm saying. Like the stupid rich, I don't even know those people. Nobody knows those people.
Nobody even knows who they really are.
Like, who are they?
We don't know if they're real.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like if you live in $1 million house, though, to me, bro, you got money, dog. Like that's just what it is. Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry. So I'm meeting a lot of these $1 million house fellas who are like good people, who are not shitty people. One of them is one of the people who's like, hey man, you should do this city council thing. And so it's tight, man. I just feel like you said, if you're serious about activism, it should be locally. You should be involved in local politics. You should be.
It's the only way you start it, at least, because you can't get as you work. You got to start from the bottom up.
I mean, local, dog. I'm talking about local, even to the point of like congressman. If your congressman sucks, don't let him be your congressman anymore, bro. Get him out of there. I don't even understand, bro. Like where I'm from in Riverdale, Georgia, the dude who's been the congressman, he's been the congressman there since I was like 10.
That shouldn't be allowed.
That's insane. They're still
be.
putting his signs in the door. I was driving around. I literally, bro, we just moved back. I'm driving through the neighborhood. I'm seeing the same fucking sign I've seen since I was 10 years old in every front yard on the block. I'm like, how old is this guy now? Because I'm 30. That was 20 years ago. So he's 20 years older than he was when he was like 60. Come on, bro. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah, it's not good.
David Scott. I don't know if he's a good politician or not, to be honest with you. It's one of those things I was like, I need to look at this guy's voting history because I just moved to this neighborhood and actually care about this now. But he's up for re-election, and I was just like, this is the same dude, bro. He's been in office for 2 decades.
Yeah. So, as we wrap it up, is there anything that we've kind of been all over the place, to be honest with you.
Oh, Lord.
But, is there anything that you want to, especially as someone who's lost a lot of weight or something like that, I feel like this would be something good to impart on people. But what is like one tip or some kind of wisdom you can give somebody?
Man, don't get so caught up in the speed, right? It's gonna take time. It's gonna take way longer than you want it to. It's gonna be harder than you want it to be. Everything is gonna be more difficult than you expect it to be. Like, don't expect any of this shit to be easy. And I say that to people who want to lose 10 pounds and the people who want to lose 100 pounds. Like, the guys who want to lose 100 pounds, they're gonna see wins early. They're gonna drop 30 pounds in that first 8 weeks. They're gonna feel awesome, and then it's gonna get really slow and discouraging and all that other good stuff. Just keep going. Like, literally just keep going. It takes longer than you want it to. That's it. That's the best piece of advice I can give somebody in terms of like, oh, I need to lose weight. If it feels like it's not working, just keep going. And then also too, like, go talk to somebody smart to make sure that your diet is on point so that you're not like spinning your wheels for no reason. And don't go so crazy. I know for men, like, ego shit is huge, bro. Like, wanting to be able to like lift weights and do shit with dudes and be like people. Some of the guys I train with, they've been fucking lifting weights since they were 10. You know what I'm saying? I'm never gonna be like that. But like, I'm happy to say that like I started teaching my nephew how to lift weights when he was 14.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be awesome when he's 30, and he's never gonna have to experience some of the shit that I experienced. Because somebody like, strength is important. Stronger people live longer. Stronger people have better posture. Stronger people have better bones. Like so many things that you know what I'm saying, you could talk about that crap forever, but at the end of the day, it's like, just literally just keep going. Like, it takes longer than you want it to. I mean, I'm 3 years in and I'm still like on the up and down. Like, at this point, I've been gaining weight for 3 months and now I'm about to start dropping weight. So, it never stops. That's the other thing, is for me, if you would have told me that I would be, 215 pounds on some like, damn, I'm small, skinny, I need to gain weight because I feel little, 3 years ago, I would have told you were fucking crazy. I would have done like that. Those words would never come out of my mouth. 1, because I'm never going to be 215 pounds. And 2, because like, dog, like me, skinny, like that's weird. Mm-hmm. And when I hit 215 and I was like super deflated and looked like a melted tray of ice cubes, you start going like, damn, I need to get my protein right. I need body recomposition is a thing.
Yeah.
Google that after you lose weight.
Yeah.
Lose weight first though. Don't try and recomp your body. That's another thing. The whole let me gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. Just don't waste your time.
Yeah.
You can. Some of it takes drugs. But you can. I'm just saying. Recomp is dope. And I'm going through that phase right now. But it's just like, yeah, it takes a long time. It takes a long, long time.
All right. Well, anything else you want to shout out? Your gym?
Yeah, follow Atlas, ATLS.SC on Instagram. That's it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. This was Alex Faith. Thanks for coming out, buddy.
Yeah, man.
If you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. If you're listening on any of the other platforms on Spotify or iTunes, just drop a follow, give us a rating. Let me know what you want to hear, maybe some guests. And until next time, thank you for listening.